The experience of an Erasmus is told through twin devices, which become the conduit for brotherly friendships that survives and it's cemented over the years. This is the premise of the final dual-language episode of the third season, entitled Phone Brothers. RAE is the Italian acronym for Waste from Electrical and Electronic Equipment, a type of special waste that includes devices we want to get rid of because they're broken, unused, or obsolete. In short, they're destined for abandonment. Yet we often struggle to throw away these companions that have been so faithful to us for so long. It seems better to just hide them in a box in our basement. This is because as we carry them with us, living our physical and digital lives with, in, and through them, these objects accumulate an incredible array of stories. Collecting and telling those stories is what RAE does. The Nexus 5X is a smartphone manufactured by LG in collaboration with Google. As the name suggests, it belonged to a special line of smartphones called Nexus, which offered a pure Android experience, meaning it had no custom manufacturer software. These phones were released in a latest version of Android and were guaranteed a long period of updates. For these reasons, they were especially popular among tech-savvy and geek users. This particular device was the more affordable model in the 6th generation of the series. The device featured a 5.1-inch display, meaning it could be used one-handed without requiring you to be a giant. It also still had the long-missed headphone jack. Its design was interesting, especially the back, which was covered in a soft layer of plastic and featured a very large Nexus logo next to the fingerprint reader. The camera protruded from the back with an organic shape, similar to the crater of a volcano. The device was released in 2015 and was the very first smartphone to feature something we now take for granted, a USB-C port. It was released in 3 rather boring colors, but both twin devices belonging to Alessandro and Daniel, featured in this episode, had the same one, a standard matte black. Part 1. The German Apartment.
And I think like the first experience of you was like that you were a part of the Italian group, the mafioso from Bologna that had taken over the place. No, but you were like you were a big group, and I was like the only person from Denmark. Actually, there was nobody else, and there was nobody else. Well, there was some, but there was not that many from Scandinavia. There was only a couple of other people.
There was a movie that set the expectations for everyone leaving for an Erasmus exchange, The Spanish Apartment. It was a coming-of-age story set in a fun and promiscuous shared flat, with 5 flatmates from all over Europe, with a stunning Barcelona as a backdrop. I won't say that the grey city of Bielefeld, unknown to most, could compare to Barca, but that was probably the type of experience we all had in our heads when we chose to stay in a student's flat with 4 other people for a semester of 2 in a building so close to the university that its street name literally meant University Street. What we later discovered was that Bielefeld is mostly known in Germany for not existing at all. Let me explain. The city is an industrial town without any peculiar landmarks or points of interest. It's nothing special to be remembered for. Because of this, someone posted on a dark German forum in the early 2000s that there was a conspiracy behind the city, that it didn't exist at all and probably was just a base for secret US agents, or even the aliens. The joke was funny and spread like a snowball to the point where even Angela Merkel mentioned it during a public speech years later. For us, a large and diverse group that landed in a city in the late summer of 2016, the city felt very real instead. It was tangible in the brutalist concrete walls of the Hauptgebäude, the main building, and in the student flats where we all moved together. I'd say 60% of us stayed in the student houses, at numbers 3, 5, and 7 on the already mentioned Universitätsstraße, the closest ones to the university. It felt a bit like being in a zoo because the whole buildings were reserved to us, the exotic wild creatures also known as Erasmus students. I was the only person from Denmark, and one of the few from Scandinavia. So, from the moment I walked in, I was prepared to leave my roots behind and start a new routine, with a shared language that of course was not going to be my own. I timidly say hi to the house after unlocking the door, then walk quickly to what was going to be my den for the next few months. A single furnished bedroom down the second corridor. The flat itself was fine, with all but rationally organized spaces. But honestly, in that moment, I didn't care much about how many people the living room could host. I quickly unpacked my luggage and lay on my bed for a time I couldn't quantify. Come on, you can do this, I told myself. Then stood up, forcing myself to leave my room and socialize with my new flatmates. For the first few weeks, I often felt lonely and had a hard time settling in. I didn't feel like I clicked with the people I met, but then something completely turned around, and looking back, it was a great time. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a good time to study, but socially and for my personal growth, absolutely. Isn't that the whole point of Erasmus? It's a classic, then large group will eventually split into smaller ones. I mean, you can't always wait for 60 people to order a pizza. This normally happens when stronger bonds and individual connections begin to emerge. To my great surprise, I was soon surrounded not by other Nordic people like me, but by loud, warm-hearted, and gesticulating Spanish and Italian friends. My strong bond began to emerge with Ale. The first time I met him was with the big group of Italians from Bologna. We were all standing in a wide circle, with the Erasmus coordinator facilitating the meetup, where we were basically supposed to just see each other's faces for the first time. When it was turn to introduce himself, he also introduced the group of 5 computer science students he was part of. I was quite surprised to see that another 5 sociology students came from the very same city. It's going to be an easy start from them, I thought. At the beginning, for the first few days, we didn't talk much, but we ended up meeting again soon because of Martina, one of my Italian flatmates, who brought me to a little Latin party that eventually led to the first of many reggaeton dances and to the first time I had ever seen a person twerking on a refrigerator. Then, one Saturday, while I was wandering through the crowded streets full of shops and restaurants around the train station, looking for a place that would air the Arsenal game, yeah, it's quite common in Denmark to support Premier League teams instead of local ones, I almost bumped into Ale and Lorenzo. They were just walking around, chasing the idea of finding something to fill the day. Why don't we watch the game together? And the most pleasing afternoon was served. Beer, Santi Cazorla leading Arsenal to the victory, and a warm feeling that started growing inside. Maybe more days like this will come. Maybe I'm not gonna be alone for so long. In the first 4 weeks, before actual classes started, we were supposed to learn or improve our German. Some of us, like Ale or Amerigo, had to start from scratch, while others came to Germany specifically for language studies. The days started to have a regular rhythm. We were divided into 4 classes based on a placement test, which we attended every morning. We'd have lunch together in the cafeteria, a green building also known as the Ex-Gebäude or X-Building for some obscure reason, but who cared? The food was tasty and cheap, and in the afternoons, we met to review. We used to sit at one of many tables on the top floor of the labyrinthine main building. Myself, Ale, and Ilaria were always there, but sometimes other friends would stop by to review which words took the neutral article das or the proper way to conjugate modal verbs. Even though she was by far the youngest, Ilaria acted a bit like our teacher. She was a foreign language student and was very good at creating a fun study environment. After all, we were all preparing for a language certificate exam by the end of the month. The thing is, I felt a bit ashamed because I had taken German in high school and I was still so bad at it. I clearly had an advantage with pronunciation, but not much with grammar. I felt like I advanced in those weeks. I reached a place where I could speak bad German in casual conversations. Flash forward, at the very beginning of the real semester, I discovered I had been overly brave, as most of my classes were supposed to be held in German. When I actually started attending them, I studied sociology back then, with a German professor in every class dumping 1,000 words a second, I was like, what the heck is this? I'm getting 5% of this. And yeah, there's a huge difference between a casual conversation and understanding an academic lecture, not to mention writing papers for a university class. So you could say I chickened out. Without too much hesitation, I changed many of my subjects to ones taught in English. This created a bit of a mess with my home university in Roskilde, but everything was eventually sorted out, and I think it was the right decision. Things were moving fast, and both Ale and I realized our phones were not moving fast enough. He had a Google phone already, and I had an iPhone 4. I'm not sure if his phone was actually broken or just slow, but Ale started thinking about getting a new one, reading reviews online, and planted the idea in my head. I said to myself, my phone is terrible as well. It might be a good idea to change it. One day, after getting a tip from another Erasmus guy, we went to an Aldi supermarket. Yeah, the same Aldi where you get pasta or potatoes from, and bought a German SIM card, which was absolutely necessary since there was no free roaming in the EU back then. Where I put my new SIM card, $9.99 seemed a fair price for less than 1 gigabyte of data, I discovered another problem with my old phone. It had a regional lock, so I could only use Danish SIM cards in it. That was the deal breaker for me. So I was all up for a new device. It had a reasonable price, good spec, and a geeky friend was keen to buy the very same one for himself. It had to be good. So we placed an absolutely unsuspicious order for 2 identical smartphones on Amazon.de, using Amazon.it account and paying with a Danish credit card. No wonder that Amazon, not Jeff Bezos himself, but a person, called Ale right after, thinking he was being scammed. The first phase of our Erasmus experience was symbolically marked by a potluck dinner. Almost everyone put a great effort and brought huge amounts of delicious foods from all over Europe. The table, prepared for us by the university crew, was so loaded that we had to place bowls and trays of food onto chairs. Ale and Lorenzo brought tagliatelle with ragu and were even complaining because they had used too much wine. It was super boring and just brought Danish beer, Carlsberg. But in the end, it's what we're famous for. Our phones were going to be delivered the next day, and it felt like a symbolic end to our first phase, our introductory phase of living in Germany, or more accurately, in the Erasmus social bubble in Germany. Part 2. New device, new life.
Yeah, so actually when we got the phone, the new device, I downloaded WhatsApp for the first time. I don't think maybe I've had it before that. At least because in Denmark we don't use the WhatsApp app because we just people in Denmark just use Messenger actually. And actually now it's also like going back to texts, regular text messages again. Like Facebook and Messenger was such integrated part of the of how people use technology, especially in that time and still. So like it felt not necessary to have like an extra app for chats.
Was very happy with a new phone. I mean, we were soon going to discover that it wasn't really sustainable for a long time, but in Bielefeld, it was a good phone. The feature we played with the most was slow motion videos. The first thing I did once I unpacked it was to film Ale shaking his head and showing his tongue. A truly relevant use of high-tech. What he did instead was film a mocha pot brewing coffee, again in slow motion. Thinking back to those times, it really felt like a moment when life was so fast, you needed more frames to live it fully. WhatsApp groups and WhatsApp in general were a new thing for me as a Dane. From my point of view, it's strange that people don't just use Messenger app, which has the same features and connects you with anyone you're friends with on Facebook. That's precisely what we do in Denmark. But an Erasmus community doesn't necessarily represent a single country. It's a melting pot. And we just chose the app that was used by the majority. Back then, we were creating a lot of WhatsApp groups to organize our social life. The main Erasmus Bielefeld group, immediately named Erasmus Bielefeld 1617, Todo Untos Dario's House, the WhatsApp group for the mostly Italian-Spanish gang, and the Holy Trinity, just me, Ale, and Ilaria. A choice that feels quite ironic now, since I'm currently completing my studies to become a priest. Years later, I'm still not using WhatsApp again. I'm not even sure if I have the app installed on my phone right now. I'm sorry guys, if you couldn't reach me, that's why. Most of the parties organized through WhatsApp took place in the same location. Guess what? My flat earned the honor of being the party flat. That was mainly because of my French flatmate, a social guy named Robin. He made sure to push us to celebrate our lives every weekend and sometimes even more often, to be honest. While having a terrible homemade gin and tonic with a beer pong match next to you, it was easy to chat with anyone from the group and imagine a better and different future from the scary developments we were witnessing in those very days. A future where Brexit was not going to happen in the end, a future where a guy like Donald Trump would be forever neutralized by antibodies of one of the largest democratic countries in the world. In retrospect, it all sounded delusional, as we were truly living in a bubble. Out there, it's much harder to agree that what unites us is stronger than what tears us apart. However, it was good to have social activities happening in my house, so I was kind of forced to be social. After months of parties, the bathroom was covered in stickers and posters, and you could really spend time reading them if you needed a break from the loud living room. Since the Nexus had a headphone jack, probably one of the last phones that still have it, we connected to the speakers via cable and did some DJing. I remember we often played This Girl by Kungs, but also Lean On by Major Lazer, and our Spanish audience always found a way to stream Safari. It's still incredible to me the enthusiasm that permeated the Latin girls every time this tune started, as they were listening to it for the very first time. But Erasmus is also a safe space to experiment and do very stupid things with little consequences. One night, I missed a shot playing beer pong, overreacted, and before even realizing it, smashed the glass window of the door into 1,000 pieces. It was horrible and expensive at the same time. Another time, I was way too drunk, but as always, the party was at my place, so I could get to bed in just 5 steps. Then, I woke up because some people were in my room taking pictures of me while I was sleeping. But I was so dizzy and exhausted that I didn't even have the strength to ask them to leave. We all have our own ways to grow up. One thing we were told to do once we arrived in Germany was to check the letterbox daily, since important communications from university would arrive that way and not necessarily via email. It felt so old-fashioned, but didn't sound so crazy compared to the fact that doctors were still communicating by using fax. However, one day in October, I came back from a long day at the university and, with a well-trained movement, opened my letterbox. There was a letter from the Hausmeister, the building superintendent, telling us to stop the parties, since many German students living nearby were complaining. I soon discovered that everybody, not just us, had received it. After such a clear and strong message, we decided to cut down on partying hard, for maybe a weekend or two. But the phones were not only used to stream music. Following the ukulele master Umberto, who brought his instrument from home, we started to meet at night to sing along with him. We used our devices to look up the chords or lyrics. Our musician was able to improvise on any tune, but we ended up playing mostly indie folk. Above all, one song emerged as our anthem, Riptide by Vance Joy. If I had to make a bet, I wouldn't be afraid to say that every student in the community learned at least the chorus by heart. Lady, running down on the riptide, taking away to the dark side, I want to be your left-hand man. A side location for our sing-along nights was the flat roof of the building on Unistrasse, from which you could see the entire campus. One particular night, when summer was already over but we didn't want to accept it, some rare but consistent drops of rain began to fall. So we created a small tent using some plastic sheeting. After sitting in a circle inside and lighting up some candles, we started singing Postcards from Italy by Beirut. It felt like such a magical moment that I'm glad we fully lived it, instead of zoning out to capture it on video. It felt like a wedding song, and at the end of it, a Turkish girl said she'd use it for her actual wedding. I wonder if that really happened. It was a strange evolution to go from a place of uncertainty to feeling like home, or at least feeling loved and part of a warm group in such a short amount of time. Ale had a girlfriend in Italy and was often on the phone to stay in touch with her, despite not having Wi-Fi at home, only a wired connection, and less of 1 gigabyte of 3G data. It was weird for me to observe, and as I rarely called home, I was all in on this new experience. He confessed that sometimes it felt like he was obligated to provide a live commentary of his life. It makes sense, so you can maintain a connection, but it's hard when your body is in one place and your head and heart are somewhere else. For my part, I didn't have much contact, even with friends back home. I think it was really good for me not to have that obligation, so I could be fully present. It was a classic youth moment where you can just be in the now and there aren't so many obligations. And being in a different context gives you a unique chance to experience freedom and to be open. I do remember having my first video call with my parents. My brother helped me make that work. I even took a screenshot of them setting it up and kept the file on my desktop so I could look at it whenever I felt the need. I thought, this must be what heaven is like, seeing the people you love even if you're far from each other. I called them from time to time and it felt good, but it was also good being in Bielefeld and not being too hung up on things back home. When I came back, it was also a nice experience discovering that even if I didn't text my friends much, our relationships weren't back to normal in a matter of seconds. That's clearly not a strategy you can apply to a partner. One semester passed quicker than a single class held in German. Before I could even realize how well I had fitted into my new habits, it was time to pack and go. I wouldn't define myself as a minimalist, but I definitely brought with me only the bare necessities, so it was super easy to pack everything in 1 or 2 bags that weren't even that heavy. What was going to be much harder was to say goodbye, or maybe farewell, to my new friends. Friends that felt like family. Their faces populated the memory of my new phone just as much as my own personal memory. Part 3. Long-distance friendship.
Who decides, like, for a farewell dinner to make an omelette? What, like a Danish who don't know how to cook? So yeah, I flipped the omelette and it went on the floor.
For me, leaving Bielefeld ended with an intimate dinner with Ale and Ilaria. I decided to show off all my cooking skills by preparing and flipping an omelette. Maybe the flavor wouldn't be the best anyway, but it definitely wasn't suitable to eat after it landed on the not clean at all floor. My sleight of hand or flipping it without using another utensil clearly needed to be revised. For Ale, living in Bielefeld was marked by a group barbecue in Lorenzo's garden. He still has a Polaroid picture from it, not to mention a scar on his right-hand knuckle from carelessly flipping the barbecue's incandescent lid. Now that I think about it, we both said goodbye with cooking accidents. In the Polaroid shot from the third floor of the building, the gang is sitting in a perfect circle on the grass. A perfect circle of love and friendship. But what happens to friendships after Erasmus? Before I left, in our last week, Ale told me, as we froze on the way back from grocery shopping while crossing the silent tram tracks, that he imagined 3 possible ways our friendship could develop. The first option was that we'd lose contact. The second was that we'd text like people living close to each other, but without a component of having a chance to meet frequently in real life. The third option was becoming pen pals. Yeah, it sounded very romantic, and we both liked to write, but how much would have been lost in those letters? How hard would it have been to condense weeks or months in a single email? There's a quote from Blaise Pascal that says, "I have made this letter longer than usual because I have not had the time to make it shorter." If you need to condense what you've written and weigh what's relevant or not, it takes a long time. Plus, laughter and jokes are not the same over text, and it's nice to check on a video call to see if we've gotten more gray hair. So, we ended up with a magic formula to stay in touch. A tradition in which we call 3 or 4 times per year, normally at Easter, Midsummer, and Christmas, and just talk for at least 1 hour. Almost no other communication happens throughout the year, but we both know that those calls cannot be missed. That's our tradition. We didn't decide to make it work that way. It just happened. As we were getting closer to the end of our 20s, the way we freely and carelessly spent time in Germany looked farther and farther away. Still, we were happily and safely transitioning into adulthood. Ale decided to move in with his girlfriend without waiting to finish university, and they even got a dog. I graduated soon after and found a job with the Green Party, a job that made me feel like I could make a difference for my country and the world in terms of sustainability. One frequent last question before hanging up was, "How is your Nexus?" To be fair, I was treating mine poorly, not even using a cover on it, while Ale took much more care of his, and even claimed that he didn't have a single scratch on it. Anyway, we both hoped that our phones could work for a long time, and that our friendship would last 10 times longer. In retrospect, what made the friendship work was also our ability to see each other in the real world afterward. Since then, I visited Bologna twice, and he came to Copenhagen once. Phones are good for catching up, but they're only a replacement for the real deal, and it cannot compare with being together. However, it didn't feel possible until it really happened for the first time. But in the summer of 2019, I decided that it was the right moment for an entire trip that would also bring me to Italy. A backpack, a few clothes, and some books. My journey was ready to start. Part 4. Postcards from Italy.
I was taking the Interrail train, and it was just it went wrong from the beginning. I missed my train already in Hamburg, so I was supposed to have like this really nice night train which I could sleep in, but because I missed it in Hamburg, I needed to sleep like in an ordinary wagon.
Ale loved sending postcards every summer from the places he traveled to. But the one I remember the most was from Bologna, highlighting the 3 T's for which the city was allegedly famous: Tower, Tortellini, and Tits. I can only say that it didn't last long on my fridge. Normally, in movies, when you leave for a long trip, you have either a group ready to come with you or somebody to wave at when a train leaves the platform. I had neither, but this time I was not afraid of loneliness, since I would have somebody to meet at some stops along the way. Not just Ale, but also a very dear friend who who was spending her summer in the Italian countryside. But that's another story. I was using my phone a lot to check train connections, and it felt really like its time had come. It started being sluggish, and the battery was almost drained by noon. It was a bit difficult, and the Nexus made it harder. The trip itself could have gone better. Because of delay combined with a short connection, I was still in Denmark when I missed my train with a sleeper car. So I found myself in a train compartment that didn't look suitable for 4 adults to sleep in. Then, my neighbor discovered, by tweaking around, that you could pull seats out to lie down, transforming the whole compartment in a huge bed. But yeah, we were 4 strangers in this carriage, and it felt a bit weird. When I woke up the next morning, my neck was hurting a bit, the person lying next to me was very close, and we had arrived in Austria. I spent a few days there and in Switzerland before heading south. Bologna, a city that had sounded so magical and almost exotic in my ear for so long, was just a few hours by train from there. When I stepped out of the train station, I discovered a new level of heat, realizing that I probably need to cover my feet with sunscreen if I didn't want to get burned in the spots left bare by my sandals. While I was sweating and walking to Alice's place, I realized that we hadn't seen each other for over 2 years, which was a crazy thought. But after ringing the doorbell, it took only a few moments to get the same feeling of feeling home with somebody that we had in Germany. Ali told me he approached my stay in Bologna with the same attitude he now uses as a teacher for a math class. Since he's scared of the void and of getting bored without having content to show, he overestimated the things we could do and see in 1 week and came up with an insanely long list. Medieval towers, street food, fancy food, a movie in a public square, huge churches. I remember them all. But the thing I remember the most is the only thing he did not plan to show me: the scar on the train station. The clock standing still at 10:25, a silent witness to the explosion in August of the 80s. It's not something you typically study at school, the recent history of other nations, and I was captivated not only by the story itself, but also by the way it was told as we rode our bikes under the scorching midday sun. He mentioned how his family personally lived through that difficult period. The explosion was heard all across the city, he told me. That was how I first discovered what Italian calls the years of lead, a time marked by political terrorism and armed violence that scarred Italian society. In particular, that bombing, carried out by far-right extremists, shocked me as much as the country's beauty itself. But of course, the time for carefree moments also came. I never had a scooter. Okay, it's very simple. You just have to twist the throttle and keep your balance. But still, I was half excited and I was half scared when I discovered that the plan of the afternoon was a ride with scooters on a city's hill. Apparently, it was a big deal, and there was even a song about it. An hour later, after some effort finding the helmet that would fit my big Viking head and some practice, we were starting to ascend these little roads that would take us to the top of the hills, with a broad panorama of the city at our feet. The freedom, the wind in my face, and the laughter were incomparable. Riding was super easy, but I still managed to hit a wall with my helmet while turning. I still don't know how that was physically possible. It was definitely the peak of my Italian experience, a true vacanze romane, or more accurately, vacanze bolognesi moment, especially considering that my driver license wouldn't allow me to ride that scooter. After the trip, the phone was KO, with a battery that couldn't last a single day. Ale had already changed his, and I decided to do the same. I'm glad we bought the phones, but much glad we don't use them anymore. I can certainly say that even though we no longer communicate through those twin devices, we're still friends. Even if we're no longer phone brothers, we're surely just deeply brothers. Wow, okay. I finally reached the end of my first episode in English. It took a big effort. So let me say thanks firstly to Francesca Tabloni, who edited the episode and helped me in the adaptation to English. Thanks to Gan for the beautiful music that surrounded this episode. And of course, I mean, it's the same as the Italian episode, but I love the way you adapted Riptide to this, to be the soundtrack of this episode. Thanks to Digital People, who produces and distributes my podcast, and thanks to Maria Teresa Argentino for the artwork. Of course, I need to say thanks to Danny for sharing the story with me, and maybe also to the whole Erasmus community, to the inner circle, the Todo Untos group, but also all the guys and that took part to the Erasmus in Bielefeld that year. Thank you guys for sharing these moments with us. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. This is a bit for you. So this is the last episode of this season, the only available in English so far. So what can I say is, if you liked it, just text me, motivate me, and probably I will do more episodes. I can translate the old stories in English. Maybe this story came to you just because you were part of that Erasmus exchange. In that case, spread the voice. Just share it with other people from that year. I'm not in contact with other students from the year. So just share it and share the story. It's almost 10 years. And even if you were not part of that Erasmus group, but you love the story, just share the podcast. Share the podcast episode from Spotify to Instagram and share it to your friends via WhatsApp or whatever you like. Be sure to make more people listen this podcast. Just help me spreading it. You can listen to Raya on every podcast platform as you've seen, but if you listen through Spotify or Apple Music, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, please. And what can I say? It's been a pleasure to tell the story also in another language to make it more accessible. I don't know if this is going to be just a one-shot experience or this is going to continue. And normally takes years from one season to another. So catch you guys the next time and talk to you not very soon, but it's gonna be a follow-up eventually. And goodbye from my e-waste.